Good afternoon. On this lovely rainy Friday afternoon, I have a big honor today to spend some time with a fabulous lady that is an absolute trailblazer in the technology industry. And I would like to welcome Sne Dlamini, who is the Vice President of Technology and Digital at AECI Limited, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Very, very warm welcome to you. I'm delighted to have the time to talk to you today.
Thank you.
And get to know you and all our followers to get to know you as well and learn from you and your experiences.
Absolutely.
So you have a fabulous career. I was looking at how you worked yourself up in the industry. Tell us a little bit about your current role at AECI and maybe a little bit about the company as well.
Awesome. So I am the Group Vice President for Technology and Digital. Essentially within the role I look after IT operations across the globe. AECI is an organization that is in the industrial space. We essentially make detonators for the mining industry. We are also in the chemicals business. We also have a water business, an agribusiness. We are a divested company. And we actually operate in 22 countries across the globe. So we are in 6 continents, and I essentially look after the technology of AECI across the globe. I also drive the digital transformation strategy for the organization and the overall IT strategy.
That's a big job.
It is. It really is. It's massive.
I love talking to people who are in different industries, but tech obviously is everywhere.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you're doing. How do you manage the different time zones? Because
Sure.
that's crazy, hey?
It is. It's insane. So I've been fortunate in that I've actually mostly worked for global multinationals. I started my career at Unilever, a global multinational company.
And I saw you had a stint living overseas as well.
I
You worked
did.
at Unilever.
I did. I used to be the global release manager for Unilever in 2017, and I was based in Bangalore, India.
In India. Right.
So, working for an enterprise like that, you follow the sun. Essentially, you have to support the globe 24/7, 365.
Absolutely.
And again, at AECI, as a global organization, again, we follow the sun. We manage across multiple time zones, and we have teams across South Africa, but also we've got regional teams that also support across the globe. So that's how we manage it.
I love the diversity of a job like that because we're similar within CompTIA, obviously. We're also all over the show. So tell me a little bit more about your day. How does your day go? That's going to be an interesting one.
Our days are very unpredictable. Really, I mean, you would have your day planned out as a CIO or a VP, or anybody in tech will tell you that you always have your day planned out. But because the function is very dynamic, you have to be agile, you have to be flexible. And so most of the time you would probably likely only do 50% of what you had planned out to do, because the world will happen and you will either deal with the crisis, or there would be something that becomes a priority that was not a priority the day before. And so my day is, I'm an early riser, so I work according to my chronotype, and I am a morning person. I typically wake up at 3 a.m. I am a woman of faith, so I always start my day with daily devotions, get ready for work. I'm usually at work before 5 a.m. in the morning, and that is when I do my thinking work, strategy work, long-term. I get a lot of time for just thinking about where are we going, what is the IT vision, and just measuring that. And so I have a window between 5 a.m. and about 9 a.m. when everybody comes into the office where I really get to think, right?
Yes, no interruptions.
Yeah, no interruptions. And then the rest of the day, I'm probably in back-to-back meetings, going into steer calls, going into exco, going into different meetings, engagements, engaging with the different businesses and, MDs across the business, meeting with my team. Yeah, that's what we do all day, every day. And then at some point, probably managing at least one crisis.
Yes, absolutely. There has to be one or two a day. And you obviously have a family. Tell us about the balance here.
Sure, family. So I do. I actually have 4 generations of family. I'm very lucky.
Oh, wow.
I was actually raised by my grandmother at a young age in rural KwaZulu-Natal. And I've got my mother and sister who are in KZN, whom
Fantastic.
I engage with on a day-to-day basis. But also I've got my own family now.
Yes.
I've got 2 sons and 1 daughter. And I'm very hands-on when it comes to
Yes.
family. I'm also very domesticated, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I tend to get involved in the domestic matters of my household.
Yes.
And so because I start work early, I usually leave early and I do the afternoon runs. So I get
Yes.
to spend time with my family in the afternoons. So I do homework with my kids. We cook dinner together almost every day. And then I go back to just checking in on emails and see if there's any critical issues that I need to deal with in the evenings. And then off I sleep, and then 3 a.m. again, same rhythm every day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then on the weekends, we actually enjoy hiking with my kids.
Okay.
So I usually take them out for hikes on Saturday morning, early
Fantastic.
Saturday morning.
You have it all. You have the
Oh,
answer.
gosh.
No, you have the answer. I'm sure a lot of the ladies are going to enjoy this part. We all need to balance. We
Yeah.
all need to. I'm a firm believer that your office hours doesn't have to be set.
Yeah.
As long as you get your work done, because you just mentioned you only, most days, most of us don't complete all the things that were on your list.
Oh, gosh, no,
So
never.
at some point you have to give it a little bit extra. And I
Boundaries,
also
yeah.
do it after supper. Then you check in on a couple of things.
But
And
also having boundaries,
because of
right?
the- yeah. Well, it's true. You
Yeah,
do. I
yeah.
sometimes stay forgotten a little bit. But yeah, your family does remind you, don't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fabulous. I love how you worked out your program. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you started in your career? Was this what you always wanted to do? Did you always want to be in tech? Or did you have dreams of being a doctor, a lawyer, or something else?
All I knew growing up was traditional careers,
Okay.
doctor, nurse, policeman, teacher.
Yes.
I had no exposure to the world of technology until I was much older.
Okay.
And so if I look back to the person that I was growing up, I was always curious. So I would get in trouble for tearing things apart. I remember I took my grandfather's stereo and I literally tore it apart because, and when my grandmother asked me, why would you do such things? Why do you always do these things? And I'm like, because I just want to understand where the sound comes from. I don't understand why we are listening to a radio presenter presenting to us. Where is the sound coming from? So I was always like literally in trouble for doing crazy stuff like that, where I would take something, tear it apart, and like really that curiosity of how
How
this
does it
made?
work?
How does it work? And so I couldn't name it as tech because I didn't know what it was. But
Yes.
looking back, I think, I've always had a knack and curiosity for technology, engineering, and how things are done and how things are made. But how I got exposed to the world of IT, when I left matric, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I took a gap year.
Okay.
And in that gap year, there was a gentleman from my local church who was starting an IT business. So my mom made a suggestion and she said, listen, instead of you lurking around the house, why don't you actually volunteer and help this gentleman in his business, help him build up his business? And essentially that's what I did. And I guess midway through that stint, I knew I'm going to study IT. I'm going to go register for a BSc degree in IT because this was like it for me. It was like, oh my goodness, there's this world that I didn't even know about, but this makes sense for me. This is exactly what I've been yearning for all those years when I was tearing things apart. And that's how I got into the world of IT.
So, a lot of people don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
I encounter a lot of people where traditionally in the family, everybody was a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, and the kids are expected to follow in the same career. And I often see those kids, much later in their life do a career change.
Yeah.
Often to tech.
Ooh.
Often to tech.
That's
it
interesting.
happens a lot.
Sure.
I just read about a dentist a few days ago. He was looking at cybersecurity of his systems, and he started studying cybersecurity courses, and now he has a little side business helping other dentists to secure their data.
That is
I
amazing.
mean, that just shows you, but he still likes obviously being a dentist. He just
Sure.
added a little bit extra on the side. So most people find out later in life this is what I want to do. You were very lucky that you found out within the first year after school and you could go study.
Absolutely.
But it's never too late for anybody to change, right?
Pivot, 100%. So I find that quite fascinating. And I think if you look at the future of work, a lot of the traditional types of roles are converging into technology. If you look at the conversations that we're having about digitization, about AI, it's no longer about tech teams being gurus in AI. It's about everybody in the organization is using AI.
100%.
All the roles is going to be impacted by technology. And so I
100%.
think technology is going to become a universal capability and not necessarily a core capability that only a select few would have in the future. So I find it quite interesting that, even dentists can become cyber aware. Even dentists are now using AI. Even mechanics are now using digitization and IoT and sensors in the work that they do on a day-to-day basis. So I find that quite fascinating. And I think for future workforce, it's quite important that everybody actually understands tech. And I think 100%. Tech needs to be a fundamental and a foundation course, even in primary school and high school. And I think it's becoming quite a critical skill for everybody, regardless of your career trajectory. So very important for everybody to actually, and when we see it with our own kids, right? I look at my own children and I'm always surprised by how much technology they are exposed to and the things that they do. My son is in grade 10 and he's already doing gamification and he's doing things that I only got exposed to at varsity. So the world is changing. But I guess if you are looking to pivot, so you've done a traditional type of role, whether it's CA, accounting, whatever it may be, and you are looking to pivot into IT, I think this is the right time to do that. I think there's major opportunities for anybody who is in a more traditional type of role to augment that with technical skills, and especially AI. It is absolutely going to become a critical skill for everybody in the future.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So every one of us makes a difference in our kids' lives. So I'm sure that you exposed your kids to tech early on. Correct?
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely. And not just my kids. I mean, we've got nieces and nephews and cousins. Like I said, a lot of my family are in the rural areas of KZN. They don't have the technology that my kids are exposed to. But it is so important, digital literacy for me is a critical skill for the future, and we need to go back to the places and the communities that raised us, and we need to invest in those communities, and we need to bring that technology back to the people so that they can have better chances of getting into those careers. Because like I said, I didn't know that technology existed. If it wasn't for the opportunity that I was given in that 1 year, I wouldn't have been exposed to it. I would have probably gone into a very different career path, right? So quite important for us to expose our kids and young people in our societies to technology as early as possible. I sense a little passion
there. Do you do any projects on the side that involves this at all?
I do. So yes, I'm big on community upliftment. I'm big on digital skills, and over and above that, I'm big on women in tech, because again, it's still very much a male-dominated career path. There's still quite a lot of males in STEM, just generally speaking. And I think for me, sponsorship, mentorship is quite important, especially for young girls that are getting into the STEM or the tech space. So I do quite a lot of that. I'm also part of many different organizations like Wired for Women that actually actually recognize female tech students. We do, Tech for Good, for an example. We recognize mentors and leaders in the tech space who are spearheading big projects, and these are women in technology, and they need to be recognized. So very much big on that kind of work.
So I have a theory about the fact that there's not enough women in tech. And we used to, as CompTIA, have forums as well. And years ago, we had a women in tech forum. And I feel that it starts a lot younger. And I feel that us as mothers and women, even if you're not a mother, you can have an effect on people around you that you get into contact with. It's about that traditional role. It starts there. It starts with the parents. I think I read this somewhere where somebody said, oh, I was given a doll and the boys are given something different.
Yes.
And the boys are taught certain skills and the girl is not. So we get put into a little compartment when you're young, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So from the projects we've done, and we did even with a previous organization I was with, we did a lot of projects to get girls into tech, and there's a hesitance on their side. They feel they can't do it. It's just not, the seed's not planted.
Yeah.
So I believe that each one of us has a role to play with little girls to not have that, you know, little boxes of where they fit.
It's the way that we condition them, right? It's the way that they get wired from a young age. And I mean, I've got 2 boys and a girl, and my girl is the middle child. And my husband and I have always been clear. Everybody plays with dolls, everybody plays with trucks, everybody does the same chores, because sometimes it's even the types of chores that we give ladies where we condition them to be domesticated, and the men must be more mechanical and more, they must fix the problems in the house. And you know, we've been very deliberate in saying, if our girl wants to fix things, she can fix things.
Absolutely.
If our boys want to cook, they can cook. Everybody washes dishes. In fact, they take turns. So there's like 3 different types of chores, and they all will take turns. It's not the girl only that does the dishes. So
100%.
Very important that we condition that in our children at a young age. But I also think some of us were born into those types of you know, environments. We need to challenge the status quo. We can rewire ourselves, and I know that it's quite scary to pivot at an older age, but we can do that. Women can, in fact, women are actually very good in some of the capabilities that exist within tech, because like tech itself is very broad. You know, there's cyber, there's networks, there's architecture, there's software development, and in fact, girls are
very good,
super good at software development. They are brilliant in IT project management. They can do project management, Scrum Master. They can pull things together. They've got organizational skills, but they also are good at some very technical skills like enterprise architecture. And so I absolutely agree with you. Girls can do what boys can do. It has nothing to do with gender, and I think it's that conditioning, and we really need to ensure that we create a different society because we know better.
Yes.
Okay.
And it starts with us.
Starts with us.
Starts with us.
Yeah.
The same at the workplace. I often hear women say, oh, but men earn more than us. And a lot of women are in, once again, that little box, HR positions or marketing positions. You know, it's changing. I'm seeing changes.
Yeah.
But you have the opportunity then to ask why, if they have the same experience,
job, same experience,
and
same
background,
number of years.
why is this? And I think it's happening less, but I do feel that instead of us always pointing fingers somewhere else, we should take the first step and make that change and do something about it.
I completely agree. I mean, the shift is happening, but it's very incremental. There's still very much a big gender pay gap. We've seen it in the numbers. I mean, if you look at the number of female CEOs in South Africa, again, representation is still a huge problem. It's a major problem, not just in our country, in our continent, but also globally. And so we need to change that narrative. And I always say, and I know this is going to sound a bit controversial, the beneficiaries are never going to fight that struggle. They are benefiting from it. We are the ones that are feeling the brunt of being disadvantaged, and we need to question that, and we need to say, listen, and we need to set the bar high for ourselves. You know, studies have shown quite a few things. The first one, which I found quite fascinating, is that we are very hard on ourselves. So if there is a role that gets advertised, CIO position, I don't know, somewhere, if a gentleman ticks only 10% of the requirements for that role, they will be like, I'm going for it. I can do it.
The confidence.
The confidence.
Yes.
If it's a woman that sees that role and they tick 90% of the requirements for the role, they will question themselves. They won't apply for the role, even though they qualify better than the gentleman. So we need to work in our inner posture as well. We need to know that we belong in those spaces, and we need to fight for what's ours and what we really deserve, because we are also really good at what we do.
And you're 100% right. We do underestimate ourselves.
We do,
we are very self-critical.
Yeah.
So that needs to change.
It does need
Believe
to
in
change.
yourself.
100%.
And give yourself a break.
Yes.
And go for it. You never know.
Go for it. You never know.
You
And we really need to believe in ourselves. And
Absolutely.
And I know that it's societal and systematic. You know, it's not like we woke up one day and we didn't believe in ourselves.
No.
It's really societal issues, systematic issues
Yes.
that are embedded in the way
Absolutely.
that our society is, unfortunately, which is why we're dealing with so many issues that relate to just gender and societal issues. We need to be the ones that are fighting for the next generation.
Yes.
It cannot be that the next generation and generations to follow should be fighting the same battles that we've been fighting.
I was on a panel once and I said, I think it was in the Women in IT publication from IT Web. I made a comment and I said, us older sisters have fought and broken the glass ceiling so that you younger ones can have an easier path.
100%.
And that's exactly what it is. So don't think it's the next one's job to do it.
No.
You do your part.
100%.
Very important.
Couldn't agree more.
So Sne, let's talk a little bit about the workplace. And I'm now newly qualified. I apply for a job at your organization. And what is it that, from a company perspective, is expected of somebody that comes new into the organization that they may not realize is necessary for a tech position? Let's take a tech position.
Sure. Oh, no, that's such a brilliant question. And it's funny because when I interview people for roles, beyond the technical capability of the individual, I always look for leadership potential in the future. I always look for initiative, ability to take initiative. I always look for soft skills. Business acumen as well is one that is quite top of mind, because for me, we don't do tech for the sake of tech. It always needs to be driving some kind of business imperative, right? We need to connect the work that we do in technology to the business and how it enables the business. And so for me, I think very important, especially for students, you've got your certification, you've got your degree or your diploma, you are stepping into an interview, for an example, with an organization like AECI. Don't just prepare for your technical capability only. Don't just prepare to speak to your abilities to configure systems and software engineering, etc. I think employers are often looking to see if you've got a potential to lead in the future. Are you curious? I mean, we spoke about curiosity earlier.
Yes.
Are you a lifelong learner? Are you willing to learn new skills? And I think over and above that, it's about, are you willing to actually go to the business and understand what the business actually does? Because when you are a techie and you have to engage with your business stakeholders, oftentimes one of the things that frustrate the business is that we speak technical jargon, right? We speak about cybersecurity, AI, DLP, and they have no idea what we are trying to say to them and how that it doesn't resonate with the business. And so to translate that into business language, you would definitely require some business acumen. And I think for me, as you go up the ladder, your leadership skills then become quite critical. Can you lead teams? Are you able to pull people together? And you know, leadership for me is not even about title. For me, leadership, you can lead as a BA by pulling together different stakeholders to solve a specific problem. You can lead by pulling together a cross-functional team and being able to influence outside of your sphere of reportees, right? For me, that is what leadership is. And those are some of the skills I think that we need to focus on over and above your tech skills. And then if you think about some of you, because I mean, I spoke about the fact that you have to be a lifelong learner. If I look at my career, for an example, I think one of the critical things that I've done with my career is I started with a hardcore computer science technology degree. I then augmented that with a BCom degree, which was very much focused on business, etc., etc. 10 years later, I did an MBA because I knew at the point in time that I need to bring in the business acumen, the financial acumen. I need to speak to P&L. I need to talk to top line growth, bottom line growth. And so those are some of the critical pivots that you need to make in your career so that you can really take hold of your career, own your career, and really drive your career where you want it to go.
Nobody tells you that.
Nobody tells you that.
Nobody tells you that. So over the next 2 to 3 years, what skills do you think people, and in particular leaders, need, which maybe they don't realize at the moment they will?
The future of work for me is changing tremendously. A lot of it is actually influenced by AI. When we speak about the workforce of the future, today, we don't only speak about the human employee, we talk about agents, AI agents. We talk about how the work in itself is going to shift. You spoke about the dentist earlier. And so I think leaders or managers in organizations need to prepare for that. I think leaders need to start preparing, especially talent teams and learning and development teams. They need to realize that a lot of the traditional type of roles that may exist today may fundamentally shift in the future. It may be different types of skills. And I think a lot of those skills, not just technology skills, but skills in the business itself, most of those employees are going to need to augment their traditional know-how on, I don't know, maybe you are a CA, maybe you are a mechanic, a dentist, or whatever role you have today, in 2 to 3 years is going to fundamentally shift. And I think a lot of that is going to be informed by technology, and I think a lot of it by AI. And so I think the question is more about, it's no longer about whether AI is coming and how it's going to shift things. It's no longer about that. AI is already here. A lot of us use AI. It's about how do you, through curiosity, lifelong learning, how do you ensure that you yourself empower yourself with the skills that are going to be required as a CA in 3 years' time, because those skills are going to be completely different. So I think about my current organization that I'm in today. Cybersecurity is one of the most critical capabilities at AECI. And it's not just a capability that's needed in IT or in the cyber team in IT. Every single employee at AECI has to do a cybersecurity course because we speak about the human firewall, that if an incident had to happen, or more often than not, we know that 97% of cyber incidents happen because of a human error. And so cybersecurity skills are no longer a skill that sits in the cyber team in IT or a skill that sits within the IT department. It's a skill that's now required across the organization. A lot of organizations are taking up AI tools like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT. There's a lot of these tools that are now available for employees. These tools are not just for techies. They are tools that are used across the business. And so for me, I think we need to realize as employees and as line managers and leadership and management and even executives that the advancement in technology, the exponential advancement that's happening in the technology space is going to shift the future of work, and it is going to largely impact almost everybody in the organization.
100%.
Yeah.
If you can give one piece of advice from your life experience, work experience, to young people that are starting out, whether they have just done a couple of courses and look for work or they've gone to university, what advice would you like to give young people?
Sure, I just have a lot for young people.
I know.
I think that our education system trains us, and maybe even like the way that we were raised, trains us for a world where we are going to become employees. And I think that young people need to realize that that equity has changed a lot over the last few years. Especially, again, I think technology has a lot to do with it. But if you look at the unemployment rate of South Africa, you actually realize that not every young person that's going to come out of matric is going to be employed in an organization. So I think they need to think about the different pathways that exist for them as youngsters. And I actually want to encourage young people, if you feel that you are wired for entrepreneurship, wired for running your own business, pursue that. I don't think that we should all be aiming to, get into a corporate world where we will be employed by a person. And I think for me, there's far bigger value, and it's something that I need to think about for myself, and something that inspires me about my husband. It's about, he's like, at some point he said, I actually want to be part of the solution. I want to create employment for other people instead of seeking employment. And for me, if that is your purpose, pursue that. Think about those different pathways that exist for you, because it may not always lead to being employed in an organization.
100%.
It might just be that you are called for entrepreneurship and you are called to create jobs. Maybe that's your calling. So that, I think, needs to be top of mind. Secondly, I think what I've learned from my volunteering experience is that I didn't necessarily need to be employed to find my purpose. And I think sometimes, young people need to look for opportunities for volunteerism. I honestly think that there's lots of opportunities for them to volunteer. Even if you aren't necessarily getting paid for that, that experience in itself is going to serve you greatly. Exactly. And I remember in that year when I was volunteering, not only did I volunteer, I got an opportunity to do certifications that I absolutely believe that part of the reason why I was able to finish my BSc CompTIA degree in record time is because I had foundations that I had already learned, and practical experience that I already had. While I wasn't really qualified, but I could do the work, and I guess that learning is absolutely invaluable. So I would say young people need to look for opportunities. If there are opportunities for them to do practical work, to look for certification courses, short courses, that is absolutely invaluable. You can then augment that at a later stage with a degree if you want to do a degree, but that can be a good footing for you to step into something that can really be of value to you. So I think that's quite critical.
Exactly what CompTIA offers.
Oh,
That's fabulous, fabulous advice. We have 1 million young people that matriculate every year. And a small percentage of that actually get the opportunity to go to university. The rest, what happens to them? What happens to them? So I agree with you. I think the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is to take your own life and your career into your own hands.
Absolutely.
Don't wait for your employer. We see that often. People wait for the company to tell them to go and do training. Take it into your own hands. Take that step, an initiative yourself, and be curious.
Be curious.
Always be curious.
Lifelong learning,
Absolutely.
right? It's not even for young people only. I think if you stop learning, especially in the world of tech that is changing exponentially, you will be redundant. So lifelong learning is so critical. Remain curious. I spoke about the little Sne. I was ever so curious, and I think I have not lost that curiosity of wanting to know more, find out how does it work, what is AI, how is this going to change the world, and what can I learn that could empower me for the future. And I think that's quite important, that we remain curious, that we take initiative. People say that if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. But if you do ask, then there's a chance that you might get a yes. So I think young people should do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I also think the advice you gave about volunteering at companies, I cannot see that any company would say no.
Absolutely not.
And I think that most companies would end up
Hiring
helping
that
person and hiring them.
Says a lot about your initiative, right?
It
says
does.
a lot about the person that you are. What company wouldn't want somebody like that?
Absolutely. It's because don't we hear it all the time from HR and hiring people that it's about the attitude? A lot more than
the technology, the technical, experience or know-how. Absolutely,
attitude is
the
everything.
Attitude. I actually have a friend of mine who told me that when he finished, I think he had finished his degree or certification, he went to this organization. I'm not going to say the name of the organization. He says he used to go there every single day. At some point, they said to him, listen, you are here every day looking for a job. And they were like, what can we make you do, like, in the meantime, because we don't have any vacancies, right? And this person has been in that organization for 23 years, grown within the ranks, part of an IT leadership team, incredible work that he has done in that organization. And it's just that, he said, I will work for free. I don't mind. I'll come here every day and work for free if I have to. But he's been there 23 years in that organization, and he's grown tremendously.
That's a fantastic story. That's exactly what people should do. I think you've given us a lot to think about and a lot of good advice to everybody watching this video. Thank you so much, Sne. It's been really tremendous to get to know you, to spend some time with you. I appreciate you giving up some time on your Friday afternoon to come and chat with us. Thank you very much. Lovely to chat to you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And that concludes our discussion with Sne. I think I can sit here and talk to her for the rest of the day. I think we have a lot in common. But I think that most importantly, she has given us such practical advice and information. And I hope that everyone watching this video can learn something and take something from what she shared with us today. Thank you so much.